Call to order, pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, let the record reflect that all board members are here and accounted for. The board chair has no comments. With that, we'll go to approval of agenda. There a motion to approve or amend?
I need an amendment, please.
Yes.
I need to amend to include a special board meeting for training and decisions on interviewing on March 16th at 6.
Okay.
I also have the contracts, the building and grounds director, along with the agreement of the payroll benefit Mars and HR assistant.
All right, we'll put the minutes in with the minutes and the contract under 10C1 and 10C2. All right. Any other amendments? Hearing none, would somebody like to approve it as amended?
I'll second.
The motion is made by Director Hofstad and seconded by Director Lang to amend the agenda and include the minutes from the board meeting and the two contracts. Any other discussion? Any other discussion? Hearing none, will the superintendent call the roll?
Director Bauman.
Aye.
Director Jarrett.
Aye.
Director Hackett.
Aye.
Director Hofstad.
Aye.
Director Lang.
Aye.
Director Roaring.
Aye.
To let the record reflect, motion passes 6-0-0. All right. Moving on to appreciation, recognition, and presentations. Dr. Grabata, you have the floor.
Step up where people can see you, sir.
Yes. First of all, I want to recognize Kyan Larkin, a second grader in Miss Brenny's class, and the parents of Cassie and Nick. Kyan, after 7 years of struggle, nearly from birth, with a very serious skin disease, they finally had a breakthrough. They tried all kinds of treatments, and really just recently, after a 3-year study, and the medication was primarily made for adults, but they opened that up and he was able to get the treatment through injections, and it was like a miracle cure. Things that he was not able to do, that a child normally would do, he's now able to do, but even not equal to that, but very interesting, he also and his mom really have screen presence. Their show on Fox 9 News was really well done, and they did such a nice job of communicating and showing a wider audience what they've been through, what they've been able to accomplish. So both for the success they've had with eczema and getting through that, and also for just such a great job. So when he's done, he may have a career working with television. Great presence. So thank you to them. The comment that stuck with me is they have a freedom they never knew. And so that's what a dramatic change that was for them. And if they're with us and they have any comments, please feel free, either Kyan or Cassie or Nick, anything you want to share. And you certainly don't have to, but you're very welcome to share any comments that you have.
Well, we just wanted, we're new to the Royalton School District. As far as this is our first year attending the Royalton School District. And all I can say is I've been nothing but impressed and honored to be a part of a school district that has, supported and really reached out to all of us, even prior to this news story coming out, but especially after that. And I just say thank you from the bottom of my heart that we get to raise our son in a district that really supports him, not only academically, but physically and emotionally and mentally. And as a parent, you can't really ask for much more than that. And thank you, Dr. Grabata, for all the very, very kind words. It's been a very, very long journey. It's been a very tough journey. But Kyan has really shined through it and been able to do it with a smile on his face. And all we have are for big hopes for the future with his injections and skin barrier staying firm. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Ready, next I have Michael Marshall, a second grade teacher. Michael's been named a Teacher of Excellence by Sourcewell. It's going to be a virtual banquet on April 28th. So if you miss this out on a great meal, but good recognition. And if you don't know Michael, he's about the most caring teacher you're ever going to meet. And he's one of the few teachers that has the same energy level as the students, so they work to keep up with him. Great values, positive role model. Michael is always positive. He's always working to include people. He's been a leader in our school and our leadership team and our PBIS committee. And when I look for a role model as far as attitude and values, I look for Michael. He's also been our track and cross country coach. He's done a wonderful job with that. So congratulations, Michael. And if you want to say a few words, please do so.
It's been a real blessing and a joy being part of this district for the last 13 years. Saw a lot of kids and their families just grow up. And yeah, thank you for the kind words. It's really, he's helped me grow too. Like I can remember starting out my first year here. It was rough, but it's really helped us grow too. So it's a wonderful district to be a part of. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, I would like to take the opportunity to recognize Zach Silvernick. Zach should be online with us tonight. Zach is the Region 5 Sourcewell Secondary Teacher of the Excellence. Zach's room is right here. This is kind of our math wing down here on this end of the building. It's always fun to have in a district when you get a chance to bring one of your own in. And Zach is an alumni of Royalton. He played sports for us here in town, and you can see him online with his little one. He's on dad patrol tonight, and Zach is an excellent teacher. He is. It's kind of Zach is one of the. He's a real bright spot in our building amongst a bunch of really good teachers. I like to brag that we stole him from the clutches of Sartell as he had done his student teaching there, and we were able to win the tug of war and bring Zach back home and work in his hometown. He's done just a tremendous job for us. He's great with technology. He's on the cutting edge of doing things like flipping your classroom. Of when the kids come in, they work and present lessons outside of the class that kids access after hours. Zach has applied for a teaching position this summer with like a Lego type of math company where he actually gets to work with kids from different places and working with math. He teaches our high-end college math classes, CIS math, which if you, for CIS requirements, the teacher has to have 18 in-field credits beyond their bachelor's to do CIS. So he has taken 18 masters in mathematics, which is, oh my goodness. It is a very difficult road with lots of very difficult classes to take to get there, and Zach has done that. Great ambassador for kids, great relationships with kids, gives 110% all the time. And so I'm very pleased to recognize Zach Silvernick as a Sourcewell Educator of Excellence for 2021. Congrats to Zach. Zach, anything to add?
No, just thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And I just wanted to say it too, like Michael said, it is such a blessing to get to work here at Railton High School with all these great kids and colleagues as well. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Tony Duvel will present somebody at this time. Tony?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hello, board members. I'd like to recognize Tammy Grotzik. She is a custodian over in the elementary building, works in the afternoon, evening shift over there. Does a very fine job over there. As you can tell, it's always neat as a pin over there. And as she is shy, did not want to show up and be recognized, but she very much appreciates it. I did tell her about it. And she, like all the other custodians too, they're very much part of a team. So she very much appreciates the recognition and the hard work that those guys and gals do. So I think Tammy's been with the district probably pushing 15 years total. I think she started on a part-time basis, and she's been full-time for quite a while. And very pleased, just super to have her on board. And I think all the elementary staff really enjoy having her around too. So it's been fun. Really don't have a lot to say, but great job, Tammy.
I want to recognize Sharon Matashik. She is the lead cook over at the elementary. She's a lead cook that also has a manager's license. They're served safe. Want to recognize her for being a rock star employee for this district. On multiple occasions, she has come through for us. We've had a few pickups here over in this building, and she's come over here and at the elementary. She's prepared all the food for both schools and served here so the ECC preschool and kindergarten could get a hot meal, and then went back over to the elementary and served that food and cleaned up that bowl. So she definitely deserves some rock star status. She always does it with a smile on her face. She's just such a team player. She's shy also, and didn't want to come in and feel like recognition wasn't something that she deserved. It truly is a team status. She wanted the whole food service department to be recognized. Without the other two at that elementary, she certainly couldn't have afforded to come over here and help the individual that was left over here that didn't have her manager's license. So it definitely is a team effort, but without her pitching in and putting the time in, we certainly would have been in a bigger bind. So hats off to Sharon Wachashik. She loves these kids. She loves being in that kitchen. So it's nice to have a smiling face when those kids come through. So hands up and a big round of applause for Sharon. She does a great job.
And then I'm up next, Superintendent Phelps, and I wanted to recognize Gene and Holly Pinkley. They're the mechanics for our buses, and some people would go, oh, well, we pay them to do that. Well, they're 24/7 people. They drop what they're doing when one of our buses goes down. They tow it in, take care of it. Doesn't matter what time of day, it doesn't matter what. Work all night long to make sure that bus is ready for us to go. They're part of the reason, not the only reason, because we've got some great people here that take care of our buses on staff, which we'll note later on, not tonight. But for example, we have the oldest running bus certified licensed bus to run in the state of Minnesota. And for the rest of you, that saves us money. That bus was purchased in 1994. Old bus number 1594. Just so you know, we also have the second and third oldest, which were both bought in 2001. Again, so much that goes to the Binkleys. He helps to make sure they're all in working order. The bodies are taken care of because they can't have rust, any of that showing when they go through an inspection. They couldn't be here tonight. They farm along with the garage. When I was out there the other day talking to them, trying to see if I could get them in or get them online, they're like Tammy is. They don't want the publicity, and he has enough work out there. The cars are stacked up. So I present to you tonight in appreciation, Gene and Holly Binkley. Next up, we have a presentation put on by a secondary principal and a couple of his staff members. And to let you all know, number one, we haven't stopped working on a strategic plan. And part of that strategic plan, I hope I'm not taking words out of your mouth. You say stop if I am, okay? Part of that strategic plan is taking a look and taking a good look at evaluating of our teachers that aligns with our strategic plan. And this is something that Joel started working on 2 years ago. When we first introduced this, saying, how can we do this better? But not only did he work to put this together and work with his teachers to put it together, and Phil is on board too at the elementary, they use it across the board, but it also saves us money. So I won't say anything else. Joel Swenson.
All right, thank you. On your table, I put a copy of the RHS instructional model. The instructional model is something that we worked on over the course of a few years during HRS, which is High Reliability Schools process that we worked through with Sourcewell. This is the instructional model K-12 in our district. So all teachers are operating under these principles, which is the first time where both buildings have been aligned in terms of an instructional model. The purpose of tonight's of the presentation is just to show you a little bit of what goes into teacher evaluation. It's easy to walk into a classroom and sit down and look at student engagement, to look at how a teacher moves around the room, addresses students, rules and procedures, room organization, professionalism. Relationships with the students become quite evident. But what do you do when you walk in and you want to find out about the things that you can't see? And so on the PowerPoint up there, I highlighted in green 5 of them that are sometimes a little bit difficult to personally witness just by going in and sitting down for 45 minutes. Providing and communicating clear learning goals. Sometimes they're posted in a very conspicuous spot where you can see them, and sometimes they are embedded in the things that the teacher is using, like you'll see tonight. Assessment, the use of a test. It's not a real fun when I walk in for a teacher observation. I walk in on test day. Why? It's all quiet. Kids are all working. You get to see the kids working on a test, but you're not going to interrupt that. Practicing and deepening lessons, which is the use of homework or classwork to help students gain a better understanding of what they're working with. How do they apply it? How can they take what they've learned and apply it to their everyday lives? And strategies that appear in all types of lessons. We're going to highlight the first 4 on that list tonight. With me is Alyssa Garretts. She is our life sciences instructor at the high school, and Stephanie Berg is our business teacher. They were my first 2 victims going through the teacher evaluation process. And so what I did after we talked about the things that I had observed, I gave them 4 questions that I wanted them to prepare for. How do you provide and communicate clear learning goals? How do you use assessment? How do you get kids in classwork and in practice work to deepen their knowledge, and how do they apply what they learned? And so tonight, they're gonna go through on this presentation, and we're gonna go through the 4 questions real quick and just show you how we observe and how we evaluate teachers on those things that you don't see every day in class. This is also the same thing that's happening at the elementary school. And we are just starting to dabble with this. Like I said, they were the first 2. I will report they did a great job. Very good teachers. They do a very nice job, very organized. And so if you guys, Alyssa and Stephanie, want to come up and discuss this as we go through, we can go to the next slide. And the first question is for Stephanie Berg. How do you communicate the clear learning goals with your students?
So I do a daily agenda. I've got a running slide, and it kind of started as for my students who are absent or weren't feeling well and they could come back later. I want them to easily find what they missed and be able to make the work up. And then in November, we had this gal from Sourcewell, and I started adding today's goals. And so there's usually 1, 2, or 3 goals, and I have this up while I'm taking attendance. And then when I transition to actually starting, I'll read through it with the students. So we had 5 days in our taxes unit, and we ended with completing the actual 1040. We worked through completing a paper 1040, and then I have an interactive TurboTax simulation, and then ending with an exit ticket so that I know what I need to review the next time, which the next time was our unit test. And then as we walk through completing the 1040, both in paper and through the TurboTax, I recorded the class and posted the video for students to catch if they were gone that day.
So if you click on the daily agenda on the presentation, you can see, is there a way to click on that?
I think and that's something we talk about too, because we walk through filling out the W-4.
Sure.
And advantages or disadvantages, why you want a bigger refund, or maybe why you want to pay in or get close to 0. I walk the kids through. I used to like a big refund because I wasn't good at saving money, and that's how I was able to pay off my debt. And now I like to be close to 0.
That's really good though, that you're giving that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of us didn't know that.
Right, and we talk about, should you fill out exempt on your W-4 and just have nothing taken out, and what does it take to qualify for that status? We spend an entire day on, should I file, and I have scenarios on, should these different people file? Yes, and we, and actually it was nice, we pulled up the new W-4, and I was like, that's right, this is all new. But to them, it's the same old thing.
Sure, wonderful, thank you.
Yes.
So on the presentation, we can't open them up on here, but there's the personal finance daily schedule. You can click on any one of those.
If you go back up to the top, because I linked it directly to that slide. Oh, so if you scroll all the way back up. So that's the first slide that links in Google Classroom, and that students can easily find the date that they were missing.
So if you click on it, Stephanie demonstrated for me, if you click on any of those, days, there's Thursday, January 28th. It was a test day. That's what you get on test day. You can see. There we go.
That's why you don't do this on.
That's why you don't do it on test day, yeah.
Yeah.
And so.
Go to Friday, February 19th. And if you click on that, it'll bring us right to February 19th. Another test, our goal that day is to survive. And take the test, and then we had some wrap up from the TurboTax simulation.
So when we talk about communicating the clear goals, when the students walk into class, they know what's being put in front of them, which is one of the things that we will always want our students to have a clear idea of where they're going, how they're going to get there, and how they're going to be assessed once they're there. And so Ms. Berg this is a personal finance class that she was working with. And it just did a very nice job of laying out for her students what's expected of them. The minute they sit down in class, it's there for them. The next element is assessment, and this one is Miss Garrett's. That will be the next slide. There we go.
All right, so one of the tools that I use for assessment in my classroom is a website called Quizzes. And basically what Quizzes is I can set up practice questions, and then the students can complete it in class with me as a live version, or they can also complete it at home on their own. They can complete it as many times as they would like. And so what I use this for, I use it in a couple different ways. One of the ways that I use it is as an assessment when they come into the classroom to see what they remember from the previous class. So as they're walking in, I'll have a quizzes up on the board and they know to log in and get started on that. And then as that quizzes is running, I can see how the class is doing as a whole. So I can see a percentage as a whole, what questions they're getting correct or incorrect. I can go in and I can look at individual students, what questions they're getting correct and incorrect. And I can go in and look at specific questions as a class. So the image I threw up there is from my Human Body Systems class. And from that question, I clicked on that question and 100% of my kids got that question right at the beginning of class, which tells me, okay, I don't need to review that question. I don't need to review that piece of content from what we covered last class period. They got that, they're good to go. Whereas if I would see a question, okay, it's 50-50, half my kids don't remember or didn't click, I know I need to go back and I need to review that stuff that we covered last class period because it didn't click for a good chunk of the students. So that's one way that I use it. I may also put that as an assignment. Okay, tonight you need to complete this quizzes. It's on the content we covered in class. They can complete that quizzes as many times as they would like until they get a score that they are happy with, which is a great review of the content. Then they can screenshot their score, turn that into me, and that would be their assignment. The last way that I use that the kids really like and seem to appreciate is that they can use that as a way to prepare for tests and quizzes. So I usually have one of those quizzes per section or a couple per section within my unit. So then when it comes up to a quiz or a test, I'll be like, okay, this is what this quiz is on. I have these 3 quizzes that you can use that are all fair game for this upcoming test. You can use those 3 quizzes to prepare, along with the PowerPoints and the assignments and that kind of thing. And so the kids really appreciate that aspect of it as well. Going into my quizzes, like my in-classroom quizzes that I have the kids take, usually it'll be a couple per unit. So we usually be 1 or 2 of those practice assignments they can use to do that. And then we will have a unit test. That unit test will incorporate some of those questions from both the practice assignments, the prior quizzes, and then they get those quizzes back so they can look and they can see them as well. One of the things that I have really liked going digital with some of these tests and quizzes is that I get that data really easily. I can go in and I can look at specific questions and I can look at specific sections from the quizzes that we take and see where they need help before we get to that unit test. And then that current quizzes codes, you don't necessarily need to go into it. This is kind of an ordeal, but basically they have a link and they can access those quizzes codes at home. So whenever they want them, whenever they want to practice them, those updated codes are right there.
I went in today and took Miss Garrett's quiz on muscle functions and found that I need to take biology or human body systems. It's very well done. It's very nice to have that data. One of the words you see up there is formative. And formative assessment is a key piece of high reliability schools and a key piece of assessing our students. It's not just, hey, we're going to dump 15 pounds of information on you and we're going to give you a test on the last day of the unit. The formative assessment is constantly telling us where our students are at in relation to the learning that they're doing. And so as throughout the semester, you can see what these things are doing is they're giving the teacher clues as to where the students are at with their familiarity and comfort with the material that they're going to be tested on formally later on, and they're being tested at the time that they're learning it. So formative assessment is a key piece. It's something I'm looking for in teacher evaluation. I'm looking for use of formative assessment. It is a relatively new area for some, And it's something, as you can see, Alyssa has done just a great job with it. She's comfortable using the formative assessment and the data she gets with it. So that's assessment. We'll go to the next one. And this is, how do you use classwork? And I don't like to say homework because it's not necessarily meant to be work that's done at home, but it's done in labs, it's done in class. Together. It might be a 15-minute segment that they're working on something, but how do you use classwork or homework to help you practice and deepen your learning?
All right, so that's my version, that screenshot, that image up there of my daily class planner. So I have each of my classes and what we are doing for that day, and then notification. So next class we have a quiz, so that's on the daily class planner. Similar, I have it up at the beginning of class, so they see what we're doing. And then I don't get as many "what are we doing today" questions at the beginning of class, so that's great too. So basically, how I use that, so I have my lecture PowerPoint and my lab notebook, and those are the two main documents that the kids are using throughout the course. So my lecture PowerPoint has my notes, my information, kind of the more standard lecture type scenario. But then embedded in my lecture PowerPoint, I have slides that say, okay, now we're going to do slide 2 in our lab notebook. And so then when they open up their lab notebook, slide 2 will be an activity that utilizes that information that we just covered in the lecture PowerPoint. So one of my examples, which is linked there, is we were working with DNA and the process of transcription, translation, protein synthesis type stuff, which can be really hard for the students to conceptualize. So what we do for that unit is I have puzzle pieces, and so they're actually building the DNA, showing that process of transcription with those puzzle pieces. And in their lab notebook, what I have them do, which is another great thing we can do now with the technology that we're using, is once they have that puzzle piece done, I have them take a selfie with their puzzle piece on their Chromebook, and they can put it right onto that lab notebook slide. I'm the only one that sees it, but then I see there is my student with their completed puzzle piece. They did it, and that's a nice way where they can use that hands-on stuff within their activities within their class, but then I can also see showing that they did it and are accountable for that as well. So this is an example of my lab notebook, so things they would have to go in and complete. So we're looking at this as a replication work for DNA. As we go through our notes, we talk about each of these things, what they are, what they do, and they would then go fill in this portion on their lab notebook. If you click through, this would be an example of one where I would have them paste an image of them and their puzzle piece on the bottom there. And then they have a couple questions that go along with it, asking about the process. And then I think in there somewhere too, there is a slide asking them right there for their quizzes score. So then that would be a screenshot of their quizzes score. So as we go through that lecture PowerPoint, we'll cover some information, then we'll hop over to our lab notebook, do the activity that goes with that set of information. Then, once we're done with that, we kind of move on. So we kind of work in chunks as we cover that content.
Very good. And then the last piece, the last of the 4 questions when we're doing the teacher evaluation is, how do you have students apply what they have learned?
So back to what we were doing the other day, or completing the 1040. So I do spend an entire day on, do I need to file a return and who needs to? We have different scenarios. So this is one of those. Tim is 16 years old, a high school student, lives with his parents. He earned $5,200 at his part-time job. Yes, he can be claimed with the dependent. He cannot financially support himself. Is he legally required to file a tax return? He is not, because he earned less than the standard deduction, which is currently $12,400. But we talk about if he should. And he should if he did not claim exempt on his W-4 because he's had federal income tax taken out. And so that's something that we've done now, probably, that was day 3 of the taxes units. We've touched on it day 4, and now we hear our day 5, and we'll, Susan, if you can open up the completing the 1040 link. And we go through, and now we've got, I think I've got 5 scenarios for the paper one. And we do a paper 1040 together. And then if you scroll up, Susan, and you can click any one of those W-2 links for Edgar, Melinda, or Angela. We talk about the different pieces of a W-2, where to find their earnings for the year, their federal income tax deduction, Social Security, Medicare tax, and again, make predictions on whether or not Edgar needs to file a tax return. Can he expect a refund? And then we actually walk through the process of completing.
So there's an opportunity for, those were the 4 things. I'd like to thank Alyssa and Stephanie for putting themselves on the line and showing off what they're doing in their classroom for this presentation tonight. In the past, you would walk in with an observation evaluation and you might not get to see those things. I had a 15 to 20 minute conversation with both Steph and Alyssa in their classroom where I sat down, asked a question, and they went through this and showed me. And what an amazing way to get a view of what's happening in class with your teachers and how the inner workings happen that you're just not going to see by walking in with your notebook and free-forming notes. And I think I have been the principal in this building 11 years. This is the first time that I feel excited and comfortable about the possibility of what teacher evaluation can do. My view on teacher evaluation is that if we're not making the teachers better by the evaluation process, we're just wasting our time with it. And so my goal is to find ways that we can help, that we can talk about things where this ties right into the strategic plan. It ties into teacher efficacy of making sure that we're doing the things that we need to do to get our kids where we want them to go. It is very easy when you have great teachers like these two that they can come in and talk your ear off about the things they're doing. They're excited about it. You can tell by the way they talk about the things that they're doing, how much time goes into the planning and execution of the things that they're doing. And distance learning has created some of that for us. But they were both doing this before distance learning. It's probably just honed their skill and made them more efficient and better at working with the technology, making it work for them in their classroom. And so the goal tonight was to show you a little bit about what goes into teacher evaluation, how we observe the things that are not typically observable. And this is the process that we will go through then with teachers. Is usually the first 2 times I come in, I'm looking for relationships and engagement and rules and procedures and how your classroom functions and how the students respond to you as the teacher. And then afterwards, in the 3rd one, we sit down and have this conversation. And I feel at the end that I have a really nice picture of where that teacher is at, where they need support. The support doesn't necessarily, these guys don't need correction. They don't need intervention. But what I might be able to provide is, ooh, God, you're really good at this. Maybe you could provide some PD for our own staff to do something. Or, God, I'd really like to get better at this. Okay, I can keep my eyes open for professional development opportunities. Or through Sourcewell in our HRS, hey, we need to focus on here because my teachers think they want to have some more time spent in this area. And these types of conversations really help me find out where our teachers are at and where they need to go. Any questions? Yeah.
Do you find that this formative assessment is difficult for your older teachers that are more used to the old, grunt and grind?
Your slow adopters have a little harder time wrapping their head around the formative assessment. Sometimes I've also found with older teachers that sometimes they embed it a different way. They're not as conscientious about it. They're kind of doing it automatically, checking for understanding or telling a story, or they're naturally spiraling back to previously taught concepts. But to have it be purposeful and intentional, like we're looking for, you would want to nudge your veteran teachers in a direction like these guys.
It's fabulous. I think it's fabulous. I really do. And Stephanie, I need you to talk to my bookkeeper.
Should she fill this in for you?
Any other questions before we? All right, thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good.
Pardon, Sharon?
Yes.
I just want to say, when we talk about proficiency scales, this fits right into it. This is proficiency scale. Thank you very much, Lee.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
Joe.
very much.
All right. Any other presentations? All right, moving on to recognition of citizens for input purposes. We'll give a standard couple of minutes here for somebody to weigh in. Anybody here want to weigh in? The way this works is usually about the time I start moving the meeting, you get somebody that finally gets to do it, so. Thanks for that.
David, just to check, how would somebody weigh in? Let us know if they wanted to do that. Could you tell them, please?
Okay, so you're gonna use to raise your hand. The channel. Is that, am I right on that? That's what you do, is you raise your hand on the, I know it's not a webcast, what is it? Meeting.
You can under the reactions, or the chat is open at this time.
Yeah, this is a good time just to recap as the board chair. I decided to shut the chat off function off on the meeting for the rest of the meeting because there was a lot of side business that was going on. And in a meeting, if that was going on in here, I would rule it all out of order, and I can't do that unless I shut it off. So this is your time to do that now. That's why I did this. All right, well, we're gonna move on to board committee reports. David, if somebody does chime in, let me know, let's stop and let's circle around. So, policy committee. Policy committee, I'll report on policy committee. So, policy committee met, and we were talking about the new ones were the protection and privacy of pupil records and how a person would get data from the school and what data they can. And I believe also on how to withhold information. And the other thing was the hazing number 526. That was our new stuff. Anybody else from policy want to speak to what we? We're just kind of revamping some forms and making some forms of it more available. Anything else? All right, finance committee.
I can speak to that. We met last week, however, we didn't have any new numbers to go over, so it was pretty much the same as our previous meeting.
Okay, moving on, interview training. What did anybody think of interview training?
Did everybody get the questions?
Yes. I just want to thank everybody. I think we really moved together as a team, as a board. It was actually, I know you can call it fun, but it when we're completing each other's sentences and we're thinking along the same page, it really makes me feel like we're moving together with a one goal or with a set of goals in mind, kind of instead of shuffling this way and shuffling this way. It just feels like we're moving as a cohesive unit. It's really enjoyable to chair that kind of a meeting. So anything else on the training? All right, superintendent's report.
Yeah, if people look at what's going on in the county right now, our numbers are very, very high. We're over 50 per 10,000 breakouts on this. Some of them are certainly in Royalton, but we are far from being a hot spot that was announced 2 weeks ago in the Morrison County Morrison County record rather. And that time we were. Right now, there's tremendous number, but our school number is low, very low. Our staff number is very low. And usually what happens is we have quarantines. That's what takes out a whole unit. And somebody says, well, stay spread apart more. Sometimes that's next to impossible. And many of our staff, over 50%, are now vaccinated. Some have got the first vaccination. Not everybody's got the second vaccination yet. And hopefully, eventually, we'll have more and more. If somebody's had it, they're good for 90 days. We've had some of those recently, so that'll make a difference. But again, the main reason people are out and come back in is because of quarantine and following those stringent rules so carefully. I believe that's one reason you're following so many rules here, whether it is during our lunch program, our breakfast program, how we serve it, bus, how we're taking care of it, how the teachers keep track of people. We can contact trace very closely, quarantine people for a while. I know sometimes it upsets parents because their child is sent home to get checked. But I can think of 2 instances that happened last week where our nurses sent people home. The parents were very upset, but they did go get their child and get that child tested, only to find out they both had COVID. Anybody that would like to get free testing, and it's the PCR type, and it's not up your nose, it's a simple spit test. You can get it on various days if you contact our nurses and St. Cloud at the center there, the, what can I call it?
Rivers Edge Convention Center.
Yes, the Rivers Edge Convention Center. And that really helps us. I want to keep it out of the school. I don't want to be going out anymore all year long, and keeping our fingers crossed and taking care of each other. And hopefully we'll be smart about the things we do, and that'll keep all of us from getting the disease.
Thank you. Business managers report.
Yeah, I'm just gonna get a little more detail on finance. Finance committee that we met last week. We didn't have a lot of revenue data that changed because their Mars numbers are not in yet. We'll submit tomorrow or Wednesday. We're submitting the Mars numbers. So I didn't have any numbers to report. I'll have that data next week. But we are still looking to show a deficit this year as it stands right now in our unreserved fund, which is our operating fund. Again, it's not written in stone, but it looks like we have 168,000 that we are seeing as a spending. Again, revenue hasn't been updated. It looks we're still looking at the last March projection, that was 999 pupils, adjusted pupils. So hopefully we gain some children. I don't think that's the number. I don't think that's going to happen. I know there's some children that have left. So we'll see what our year-end numbers are too. Again, I just want to let the board know, I did let the committee know that we are 32% open enrolled, so it is hard to it's hard to project enrollment numbers that are not structured stagnant because we only have a certain amount of resident numbers, which is in that 700 numbers, 689 to 705, the rest is open enrolled. So I have to rely heavily on my Mars numbers, which are very accurate, but we only do them every other month. So when we're in and out like this is a wild card here. So hang on, and hopefully we end the year with good numbers. We still do have special ed numbers to report at the end of the year. So I'm hoping to pick up between 12 and 15 adjusted pupil units, but we will end the year with less than we did last year. But we ended the year with 1,042 adjusted pupil units, so we will end less. So I do project that we will be close to netting even or spend for deficit spending. That is it for me.
All right, principal's report.
Yeah, Dr. Dravada had to go down to the first thing that he had down here tonight is preschool information night. And they're registering people right now for preschool next year. Plays a very important role for us. They have two different times. A through K is from 6 till 7. So pretty quick here, they'll be moving to L through Z. Not that they wouldn't take them any other time. One of the things that excites me about the pre-K is this year, the general term that we use in education is we're going to offer a wraparound program where when the child isn't in pre-K, they can still come and have daycare here. And that becomes very, very important. Number one, it's difficult to have daycare, but a lot of times parents have to pay, not always, have to pay for the days that the kid isn't there and in preschool, so they end up paying twice. This affords them to be able to come to preschool, have daycare at the same time, that protects them. And right now, the numbers in daycares, it's tough to find good daycare, and it's forcing some parents where it was 2 incomes to become 1 income. So that's very, very important. They're holding an additional kindergarten information night on April 19th at 6:30 to provide another opportunity for parents. This one, more information will be coming out, and this one will be in person. Again, I remind people when they come into the school, they must be masked and stay masked. 3 has the end of third quarter coming up March 26th, and report cards will be posted on April 16th. And then the 4th, the elementary student council will be leading a food drive to benefit the Morrison County Food Shelf. Donations will be accepted from Monday, March 22nd through Friday, March 26th. And he would like to thank Ms. Carlson's 5th grade teachers for her work and their work with the student council to make that happen. I believe Principal Swenson has already given his presentation, so that's all we have to offer tonight.
All righty. Activity director report.
Okay, we've had some exciting things happen here as we end our winter seasons and wrap them up. We had some exciting section play out of our girls who were the 13 seed coming into the section tournament. We go to Holdingford and we upset them last Tuesday. They beat us both times during the year, the first time by 34 points, the second time by 14 points, and then we beat them in overtime by 4 points last Tuesday. So that was a super, super exciting environment to watch a basketball game. They then went on this past Friday to play Pierce. They were the number 4 seed, or the number 5 seed, excuse me. And then they are, they end up losing and falling in that game. So their season is over, but it was a great season for them. Boys entering the section tournament, they were the 11 seed playing in Osakis last Thursday. And it was a good atmosphere. However, the boys did fall. As far as wrestling goes, it's been a grind here the last couple weeks for those boys. We hosted the section, first 2 rounds of section for team here in Royalton. We ended up winning both of our duels there. We then moved on to our section final and section crossover event up in Cass Lake. We ended up beating Aitken for our section title and then beating Crookston out of section 8 for the right to go to the final 4 for wrestling this coming Saturday in St. Michael. The following Tuesday, the wrestlers went back up to Cass Lake to wrestle up into the placing matches for individuals. We ended up having 10 of those 10 wrestlers last Tuesday qualify for this past Saturday's super section crossover event with Section 8 again. We ended up qualifying 5 of those 10 wrestlers for the individual state tournament, where there's only 8 wrestlers in the state of Minnesota per weight class, class A. So that's going to be really, really exciting. This Saturday is that state tournament event for those boys. We're going to wrestle 9 a.m. We are actually the number 4 seed in that team section tournament. And we're going to wrestle Kimball, a conference opponent who we've wrestled once before. And I think it's going to be a really, really exciting duel. Our individual wrestlers, they will wrestle starting at 2 o'clock on Saturday in St. Michael. Both events are in St. Michael. So there's a lot of exciting things going on as we wrap up our winter seasons. We had Coach Gretzky texted me, I believe it was Saturday afternoon after they were done up in Cass Lake. And he's like, oh, just want to let you know that Shane Fessenmeyer is assistant Section 7A assistant wrestling coach of the year. I was like, awesome. We'll get it out there and promote that. I look at today, look up Shane's name, and Terry neglected to tell me that he was the section coach of the year for Section 7A. So that was really, really exciting to get that recognition in there as well for him. Baseball started their throwing program. They get a week of throwing here this week in the North Gym. So they're busy doing that. And then the rest of our spring sports for softball and track and field are beginning their practices on Monday, March 29th. We are going to start our competitions here pretty quick for those 3 sports. And the end of the first week of April into the first Tuesday of April, we then roll into trap shooting, which is going on right now for registration. And then their first day of shooting out at the trap range is Sunday, April 11th. And then we also have junior high boys football going on. They will start practice April 6th with equipment handout after school. And then we've got 5 games lined up for them with our Central Minnesota Conference schools, getting into their season would end in mid-May. So there's a lot of things going on here, a lot of stuff wrapping up, a lot of things moving into the next season. And it's been a fun thing to see and be a part of here this winter in a crazy year that we've had. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Any other reports? None, we're going to move on to consent agenda approval. Everybody had time to look over the consent agenda? I'd like to move the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Moved by Director Bauman and seconded by Director Garris to approve the consent agenda, which consists of the approval of regular board minutes from Friday, February 22nd, approval of policy committee meeting minutes from March 9th, approval of special meeting minutes on March 16th from the non-union negotiations, approval of special meeting minutes March 16, 21, closed non-union, approval of special meeting minutes from March 16th for training, approval of finance committee meeting minutes March 18th, approval of amended agenda, approve the amended agenda for the February 10th special meeting, which is amended, and add review of process timeline brochure and survey. Reapprove approval of claims accounts and financials, and approval of new hires. Nathan Goldberg, agriculture teacher. Mary Kosowski, a long-term substitute teacher. Jordan Wetterland, assistant track and field coach, and Trevor Killany, assistant trap shooting coach. Oh. Yeah, can we do an approval of the the donation by resolution?
No.
No.
And
This.
consent agenda.
Consent.
Consent.
Okay, I didn't see that one before.
Public.
Just strike that.
Yeah. Tyra, are you, Director Bauman, are you okay with pulling item I?
Yes.
Director Garrett, are you okay with pulling item I?
Yes.
All right. So we got all that stuff I just read. So is there any discussion? Not reading it again. Like, I don't, unless you really want me to. Okay. So any discussion? We are approving A through H. Any discussion? Hearing none, will the superintendent call the roll?
Director Bauman,
Aye.
Director Jarrett,
Aye.
Director Hackett,
Aye.
Director Hofstad,
Aye.
Director Lang,
Aye.
Director Rory,
Let the record reflect, motion, the movement passes 6-0-0. With that, we'll go to the item I that we pulled off the agenda. I got approval of donations by resolution. According to some statutes that somebody made, we have to do this by resolution, so, does somebody want to move this?
I'll move it.
Member Hofstad introduced the following resolution and moved for its adoption. Whereas Medtronics has generously offered to donate $3,000 to the Royalton School District. Whereas the conditions of this gift are for use in the band programs. Therefore, be it resolved by the Royalton School Board to gratefully accept the gift. The motion for adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly seconded by member Garrett. And upon a roll call vote being taken thereof, the following was voted for. Superintendent, will you call the roll?
Director Bauman,
Aye.
Director Jarrett,
Aye.
Director Hackett,
Aye.
Director Hofstad,
Aye.
Director Lang,
Aye.
Director Rory,
So in favor of was everyone, voted against was no one, and the following abstained was no one. So the motion passed, foregoing resolution goes 6-0-0, approved this 22nd day of March 2021. Thank you for Medtronic for donating to our band program. All right. Going on to discussion, information, and action items. Policy readings, first reading of policies 412, expense reimbursement form. 413, harassment and violence. 413, the form. 515, protection and privacy of pupils' records. 515, pupil records policy form. And 526, the hazing prohibition.
and I made a copy for everybody, so they have a hard copy to please look at and let your board members that are on it.
I guess I missed the one when I was talking about you can see it says on that, on the expense reimbursement that we're gonna check the current rate for cities, including its rates. Ryan having some more experience outside of this little spot that I call home than I do. It says that there's a website that we can go to find the reimbursement rates for whatever zip code we need. And that's probably a good thing to have in the policy rather than just having a blank number. So any other ideas like that, policy committee will look at. So you guys read it and find something, let us know. Second policy readings was 406, consent form, criminal history, 406, public and private data, 705 for investments, 719, pick up and drop off, and 724, ESCE student drop offs. 905 also. That's a new state regulation. So then third policy readings was 419, the tobacco-free environment. It adds vaping and awareness and prevention. 516, student medication. 601, curriculum and instructional goals. And 607, organization of grade levels. Does anybody want to move those third reading policies? I will.
I'll second.
Was moved by Director Hackett and seconded by Director Lang to approve policy 419, 516, 601, and 607. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, will the superintendent call the roll?
Director Bowman,
Aye.
Director Jarrett. Aye. Director Hackett,
Aye.
Director Hofstad. Aye. Director Lang.
Aye.
Director Roaring.
Aye.
Let the record reflect, the motion passes 6-0-0. Okay, tower lease.
Yes, I had this, I'm sorry, to cut you off. I had a discussion, I called up the guy that's in charge of our power lease and explained to him that we're very skeptical about entering into a 40-year lease. You know, and there are other ways to break it down. We're also very skeptical that what happens if we need that piece of property? And he said, well, we can work on that and light that up. I asked him, can we just continue what we're doing for now? Yes. The main reason they want to have a multiple year lease is so they can lease out other levels. That's what it's all about. They collect it because they built the tower. We're leasing them the land. Are there questions for me?
Again, I don't see why the district doesn't collect a certain percentage of any of the extraneous leasing or leases that go on. Furthermore, a 40-year lease in this age is silly.
They said they would cut it down to 30 right now, less than 30.
Yeah, I'd like them to cut
Very
it down
tough.
to 5, John.
No, what?
I'd rather they cut it down to 5.
I will see what I.
Well, there'll be negotiations, I'm sure.
Is there language in there if it becomes obsolete? What happens to it? That could already be in it, but is there language that they will remove it if it's no longer functional? Is that a part of the lease already?
Yes, that was one of the parts that I worked with them and our lawyer to put in there to make sure somebody was responsible. If it's not the tower company, then it reverts back to Verizon, the owner of the original builder of the tower. And we want to do that. Now, if everybody goes belly up, you might be stuck. But that's true of anything.
If we would move forward with the longer lease, is there guaranteed payment then, or if it becomes obsolete, so your monthly payments stop?
I would have to look into that. That's a very good question.
Otherwise, I agree, I don't see the benefit of signing a long lease.
Well, I wouldn't see a hindrance of it if it wasn't such a cloak and dagger way to get out of it, like, you know. It's gotta be a Thursday when the sun isn't shining and you have to stand on one leg in a certain circle and make a phone call, kind of thing, you know, it just. I mean, I would think anything within 3 years, if we decided we needed the property, we wouldn't be able to move that fast anyhow. You know, from planning stages to permits to actual building, I don't see 3 years being too long of a time. But to have to hit it on the year before the 5 year starts seems a little. I don't. That's the hindrance I see to it.
Anything else as I negotiate with? Thank you very much for your input.
Thank you. All right, going on to 10C1. Would be the contract approval.
Yes, and these were two that we finished up today. One is for payroll benefits to Mars and human resources. Dawn, would you talk about that, please?
Yes, we negotiate with the payroll benefits, Mars and assistant. Basically payroll human resources research and things that resource manager with myself and John help with. So we did do negotiations with the committee, and by consensus, they did agree to 160-day contract, which this position currently held. 45-cent year one, 45-cent year two. Year one, they agreed to put $500 into an HSA, and nothing year two, which is fine. So that was the summary of what was approved on that contract negotiation. So let me reiterate for this position. 45 cents year one, $500 into an HSA. That gets into our current health plan. 45 cents year two.
Are there any questions on that? We did make a mistake when we put out the what you have in front of you on page 6.
We didn't make a mistake.
That's fine. Anyway, as we take a look at it, that has been corrected in the copy that we'll sign. That was 16 plus, was down to 1,000, I believe.
Yeah, I don't know. That's been in there forever. So we didn't negotiate the TSA or deferred match compensation, so I didn't look at it. So we just took it out. If somebody chooses to be on 20 years, they can negotiate.
It'll be
You
a
just
while.
took the 20 plus out because we were punishing them for being here longer? Is that-
Well, it can, that position can negotiate it up.
Oh, wow, that person we have in that position right now, not even close to 20 years, so I think we got
Yeah.
that correct.
Well, it looks bad though.
We will, the next one, we will go back to like previous contracts and we will amend it.
Okay.
We can do an MOU to put that in, but to get the ball rolling tonight, like I said, it's been in there for like, I went back 3 contracts and it hadn't been changed, so.
Okay. So point of order here is this have to be moved.
We would like that, we can do an MOU or we can amend it, it's not.
No, but I mean the contract.
Yes, oh,
It
yes.
has to
point
be
of order,
moved,
yes.
seconded, voted.
Yep.
All right.
And the contract will get signed tonight if we pass it. Will be, have that correction on it, when we drop that point.
All right. It won't just have a pen mark on it. Like I did.
Yeah, Mary's got a,
Mary, you have discussion.
I have a few questions.
All right.
This is a pre-existing contract,
Yes,
and the reason we didn't receive it before this evening is,
that individual just accepted it this evening.
oh, well, don't you usually read a contract before you offer it to an individual? I mean, don't you allow the board to?
You want to wait a month, Mary?
Yeah, the committee met on it.
Right, I understand that, but usually, well, way back when, we got to see the contract prior to acceptance. Just in case somebody saw something that they may have had a question about. That's my question. I mean, I know we need a
Normally,
contract.
I will answer that, Mary. I've never had to do that. But if you, that's your call. That's up to you. I've never seen it have to happen like that because that's what we were looking for. But if you
But
feel
even,
more-
but
if you feel more
even with the,
comfortable-
I'm sorry, even with the committee, the board should be able to read
Oh,
it,
for sure.
you know, prior to voting on it.
Right.
Because otherwise, I'm voting on a contract that I really haven't poured over at all. I haven't really. Now granted, I have seen this contract in the
Yes.
past. I do not know if there's a whole lot of big changes here. Just more to update the contract. However,
That is an existing contract, Mary.
right, I know that.
Yes, if it would have been a brand new position,
Mhm.
yes, we wouldn't be ratifying it tonight. This is not a brand new position. Basically, it was salary that was updated. That was it.
That's, yeah, okay. Now, has somebody held this position prior to this evening?
Yes, we would.
And, yeah, and been paid for it? Or
Yes.
have you been working and not being paid for it?
No, she has been paid for it.
Okay, all right. Just, well, no, I'm just checking, because I want to make sure people get paid
No, we
for what they do.
Well, we would be charged with wage theft, which had not been paid for her weeks. So yes, she is being paid for it. That position, and before that position, that position was filled by somebody else before that position was filled by.
What before was vacated. Okay,
Yes.
now the other question I have, and I just guess I just didn't see it, but are there any educational requirements for this position?
The associate's degree, she's got one.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm just asking, because I guess I just didn't see it. No, really, I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's why I like to look at these things prior to receiving them on the night we roll out. That's all.
Right, and had this been brand new, you would have.
Okay.
This is an existing that's already been approved. No language has changed except for the little blooper that's probably been there for 3 contracts. I looked 3 contracts and that's on there. Had it been brand new, you guys would have had it. It would have been already like a week or 2 ago, and we would have had conversation.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, being it's current language, and we didn't change any language.
Okay. But the salary I will change a bit,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Good. That's all I'm asking.
No,
Thank
it's
you.
a fair question. It's fair. No,
Thank you.
totally fair.
Would somebody like to move this contract?
I will.
I'll second.
Yeah, I'd
I
like-
mean, I got the answers I wanted. I mean, what the heck?
It was moved by Director Lang and seconded by Director Bauman to approve the contract for the payroll benefits, Mars and human resource assistant that I have in my hand, with the exception of this 20+ on page 5 that's struck. Is there any other discussion on this? Any other discussion? Oh, with no more discussion or hearing no discussion, will the superintendent call the roll?
Director Coleman,
I,
Director Jarrett. Aye. Director Hackett,
Aye.
Director Outset,
Aye.
Director Lang,
Aye.
Director Rory.
Aye.
Let the record reflect the motion passes 6-0-0. Moving on to the 2020 to 2022 Director of Buildings and Grounds contract.
Yes, if you remember, I handed out the contract last time with red. If you look at page 2, section, article 4, section 4.3, we moved that to what 260 directors are at, or staff members are at, which is 30% of unused sick leave, and incurred pursuant to the provision of this section at the current daily rate of pay. So it'd be 30% of the current daily rate of pay, up to a maximum of 120 days. Part of the thought in this, and any of the committee could speak to that, would be what's incentive for somebody not to just earn those days. So to give them some incentive to be here as much as they can, they said, let's reimburse them 30%. I also went down, if you look in the paragraph, the last paragraph on page 2, we've also added the wording that covers what the daily rate of pay is. So you take that number achieved, divided by 260, and that gives that to you. Questions on that part? You turn to page 5. Article 7, section 7.2, life insurance. We're upping that from $50,000 to $100,000. That is pretty standard if you look through things. $100,000 life insurance isn't much, and it's minimal cost to the school district. Questions? Then under Article 8, in section 8.2, We've raised the salary by 2,000 in 2021. If you take a look and you look back through the years, there hasn't been a change in salary for several years. So this would reflect trying to catch them up, and it's the same salary in 2021 next year. Questions? Under section 9.1, Article 9. The amount that was there again was what I would call from years past. And so the minimum, we said, hey, let's give incentive for people to stay here. The matching amount from 300 to 500 and go up by 500 increments every 5 years. The only difference was when we step into our current building and grounds individual, he already was getting more than the time that was there, and he could have saved up to $1,200 putting in. So we said grandfathering in until his the 11th year, when it would be 11 to 15, it'd be $1,500. And then the upper end is 16 plus is 2,000. That is everything, I believe. Did I miss anything?
Page 1, section 3.1.
Oh, thank you. I missed it again.
No, you're good. We increased to 25 vacation days.
From
20.
20,
Let's see.
which is pretty standard.
Mhm. Any other questions, or is there any questions? Russ,
I would like to make a motion to approve this.
all right, is there a second? All right. It was moved by Director Garrett and seconded by Director Bauman to approve the 2020-2022 Director of Building and Grounds contract that we have in front of our front of our faces. Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, will the superintendent call the roll?
Director Bauman,
Aye.
Director Jarrett,
Aye.
Director Hackett,
Aye.
Director Hofstad,
Aye.
Director Lang,
Aye.
Director Roaring.
Aye.
Let the record reflect that the contract's approved 6-0-0. I want to thank the negotiation committee for their work. Comes to us and neat and tidy. I like it. So good job, guys. Well, you get offended if I say guys and some guys and girls. I don't know. I don't mean to do that. All the other Latin languages, they don't have that, only English. So, all right, moving on. Close the meeting for negotiation strategies. Do they want to make that motion? Who made it? Oh, I'm sorry. It was moved by Director Hofstad and seconded by Director Bauman to close for meeting for negotiation strategies under, oh boy, what section is that? Does anybody know what that is? We have to reference that. 13D. I think it's 13D.
What do you think for not having that much work?
13D.
Yeah. That's allowed by state statute 13D to close for negotiation strategy. The only business that will be done after we come out of the closed meeting will be to adjourn the meeting. Any discussion? Hearing none, will the superintendent call the roll?
Director Bauman,
Aye.
Director Jarrett,
Aye.
Director Hackett,
Aye.
Director Hofstad,
Aye.
Director Lang,
Aye.
Director Roaring.
Aye.
Okay, meeting is closed.
10 minutes to set up?